What is going on, gang? Look at this. It is the cloudiest, brightest day that I think I've ever seen. I have so much glare on the screen here. You can barely even see me, but it's not about what I look like. My current state is I'm in the parking lot of the gym, getting mentally prepared to have another great training session like I often do. And I think the message is what's important. It's not the glare or anything of that nature. As a matter of fact, while I was sitting here, I was going over some additional responses to a question I asked on my Facebook post or my feed a day or two back, and it was, what is a non-negotiable standard that you hold true to yourself? Great morning, Brenda. What's a non-negotiable standard that you hold in your life? Is exactly what it was. And I got a ton of responses, and I think the question was actually misconstrued because there was a wide array of categories to how the responses were. And I want to make sure I put some clarity into what standards are. And standards are really, what are the values that we hold to ourselves, that we hold true, that are non-negotiable in our life, so that becomes our character. And the reason why I'm hopping on here is because some of the responses I got and received, and maybe it was completely not being aware of what the question was asking, but it was directed towards external things in their life that they were trying to prevent in their life. Like they were almost the victim of circumstances, such as, I just don't deal with stupid people. I got a chuckle out of that. I don't tolerate when people are disrespectful to me. Hey, Gail from Vegas. If you're in Vegas, Dale the Whale's in Vegas, make sure you two connect somehow and see if you guys can meet up. My favorite one, Pierre, he had put, when people do curls in the squat rack, and that's a standard that he holds true. Now again, that's not a standard, although I laugh my ass off on it. It was really just, what do you like it's a pet peeve or irks you. That's not what the question was about. The question was, what standards and what values do you hold true to you that are non-negotiable? Because I used to be the person that would try to instill my standards and my beliefs in other people. For example, one of my standards is enthusiasm. Like I choose to be enthusiastic about things because that's the way I want to live. And when I started projecting that or having an expectation from other people that they also need to be enthusiastic when they're not, I started getting a little frustrated. And frustration can take us down. It wasn't until about 6 months ago I learned that we need to be tough on our standards, not on our people around us. And that has been a game changer. Because once I was stronger and truer to my standards, people in my life, in my environment, started changing. Because they felt like there was maybe an expectation that they wanted to meet my standards, which is fine, because I still have some tremendous old friends in my life and I love them dearly. It's just the relationships become different. So what am I bringing this up for? For a few reasons. The first one of which was, I want you to really evaluate what your standards are. What do you hold true? Another one of mine is a problem solver. Like, I thrive off of solving problems. That's a standard that I have, and I seek to solve problems. And usually it's other people's problems because that's just what I do. I love helping people become their best, healthiest self to the best of their potential, to the greatest of their potential. So that's something it's a standard I have in mind. I don't expect people to solve my problems, but if I can hold true to my standards, then I go there. So the question was this, and here's how I wanted to start this live was, how do you show up in other people's lives? How do you show up in people's lives? Because when I'm looking at these pessimistic or negative viewpoints of an external factor that is driving the response or the answer of what's your standard, you almost have to take a look back, step back, look at the landscape of your life and say, who am I surrounding myself with? Are these the people that are going to take me somewhere greater in my future? And that's why the whole point of be tough on your standards, not on your people, rings so true, because how do you show up in people's lives? Are you an energy giver or are you an energy drainer? Are you a battery charger or are you a battery drainer in other people's lives? Are you a future frame of reference person? Like you're rooting for people to win, like you're believing in people. You see their future, their best days are still ahead of them. Or are you a past reference person in people's lives? Meaning you're talking about old stories. Oh, remember when? Oh, the good old days. Remember we were playing college ball? Or, man, my life's really kicked me around. I really wish all those things never happened to me. And are you a future frame of reference person to other people, or are you a past frame of reference to other people? Do you help your friends set higher standards for themselves? Do you position them to create better standards, or do you just accept who they are? Do you accept what their current standards are? So how do you show up in other people's lives? Do you believe in people? Do you believe in people and they know that? Do they know that you believe in that you believe in them? Because I think that's important as well. We just don't think about, oh, Gail's on here. I don't just think about Gail and I'm like, hey, you know what? I really believe Gail's going to do some great things in the future. I really believe in what she's doing for other people and how she's putting smiles on people's faces. No, I'm going to tell Gail, you were lighting up people's lives. You light up my life. Thank you. I believe in you. I appreciate you. And that is a standard. It's a characteristic that I choose to have in my life. So guess what happens? Because when you deeply believe in somebody, they start believing in themselves. And when they start believing in themselves, then there's congruency in your environment. Because how you show up in other people's lives has an awful lot to do with how people are going to show up in your life. Let me say that again. How you show up in other people's lives has an awful lot to do with how other people are going to show up in your life. So think about that. If you're playing the victim mindset or the victim game, or still relying on past history and past events and allowing that to determine who you are and where you're going to live a very unhappy life. However, your past does not equal your future unless you're still living in it. So there, I'm going to reposition the question and ask you again, if you're watching this live, what non-negotiable standard do you hold in your life? Really think about that. And how are you showing up in other people's lives? So, all right, I need to reserve my energy for my session today. I need to get to work. Make it a day worth repeating. Talk to you soon. Whoop whoop.